back to Morgs Menu, and welcome for the first time if this is my first video that you're watching. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how I make my homemade Stromboli. It's really simple to put together, and even though it kind of sounds scary to try and form the dough and do everything, it's really not that difficult. This particular recipe is going to be salami, artichoke, and spinach. So obviously not everyone likes those ingredients. So you can, of course, just change out the filling with whatever you like, whether it's pepperoni or some different vegetables. Whatever your preference is, you can alter this really easily, but you'll at least be able to see how I make the base and form the dough and how everything bakes in the oven. So if you're interested in seeing how that turns out, keep on watching. Alright, so here's everything we're going to need for this Stromboli. So on the left here we have this whole wheat pizza dough. It's basically the ready to bake pizza dough. You can get this at your grocery store or Trader Joe's. We have some Parmesan cheese, provolone cheese, avocado oil, and then our toppings are spinach, salami, and marinated artichokes. So we'll start by preheating our oven to 400 degrees. And while your oven's preheating, you want to also preheat the pan that you're going to be using to bake, so just throw that in at the same time. So first step is just to go ahead and prep up the ingredients that you're going to be using within the Stromboli. So since we're just going to be using salami, spinach, and artichokes, none of those really need to be cooked. I just wanted to chop up these artichokes a little bit smaller. If you're going to be putting something like onion or pepper ends or some sort of meat that needed to be cooked, you would want to do that at this point as well. You aren't really baking this long enough so that the meat itself would cook, so you definitely want to pre-cook any meat or vegetables that aren't already ready to go. So now you want to take a surface. You can either use like your counter or a big cutting board, whatever you have will be fine. Just a clean surface, and then you're going to throw down some avocado oil as the base to make sure that your dough does not stick. And then we're just going to take this dough, it's about 1 pound of dough, and we're going to also put the oil on our hands so that it doesn't stick there, and then cut the dough in half, and we're going to be making 2 individual Strombolis with this dough. So at this point you basically are just kind of slowly working out the dough to stretch it out. You kind of want it to be in a rectangular shape. It really doesn't matter a ton on how big or small you get it. Obviously the bigger you have, the more toppings you can fit in, but just be careful not to rip the dough. Just kind of stretch it out and then throw the avocado oil directly on the dough and spread it around with a brush. And now we're just going to add in our toppings. So for this we're going to just directly add in the spinach because that'll just cook in the process. Throw down our couple pieces of salami. Next we'll put in the artichokes. And then we'll top that with our provolone cheese. And for this I basically did a slice and a half. Then we're going to top all of that with some more Parmesan cheese. Again, you can alter the cheese that you put in, whatever you want to do is fine. So now we're going to work on closing the Stromboli itself. So you want to start by folding in these shorter ends and then folding over the longer ends. So when you put the toppings down, you basically want to leave some extra room on the longer end since that's where you're going to be folding it over. And you basically just carefully just need to kind of roll it over so it kind of rolls into almost like a wrap. And then once you get it all set, just pinch it all together so there's no holes or anything in the dough. And now we're basically just going to repeat the exact same process with the other set of dough. Now for some reason I couldn't get this to stretch out as easily as the other one. I tore it and then had to redo it, but it really doesn't matter. They just ended up being kind of 2 different sizes. It's still baked fine, so don't worry if it won't stretch as big as it looks like mine is. It really all will just turn out fine. As you can see, I struggled a little bit with this one, but again, it came out fine, just a little bit shorter and fatter than the other one. So then you're going to take some parchment or some wax paper And this is what you're going to be using basically to transfer the strombolis onto your hot pan. So you just want to move them over from your oiled surface. So you're working on now a clean surface, and then you're going to cut little slats with your knife on the top just so it kind of breathes a little bit while it's baking. Then you want to top that with a little bit of oil so it'll get a nice brown on top. And then I also topped it with a little extra Parmesan cheese. So now we're going to transfer it over to the oven process. So the recipe itself tells you to flip the pan over and then transfer everything to it. Now, I almost dropped it multiple times trying to do this, so I don't really think it matters to do this. I ended up flipping it over just because I was scared when I took it out of the oven I was going to fall on the floor and it would just be a disaster. So I'm sure there's some special cooking thing that says, you know, it would be slightly better if you use the pan upside down, and if you want to, feel free, but for me, I didn't want to risk dropping it, so I just flipped it back over. And then once you get it on the pan, just bake it for 25 minutes. And here's what they'll look like when they're all done baking. So they got a nice brown top, the Parmesan cheese on top made it nice and crispy and good. So overall, they both turn out good, even the shorter, fatter one. It baked perfectly fine. Now this is about 650 calories. That's taking these and calling them 3 servings. So if you served this as 4 servings instead, that would obviously be lower. We didn't eat a full one each, so I basically said that this was 3 servings. Alright guys, and that's going to conclude today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that it's something that you will want to try to make yourself in the future. As always, any questions or tips that you want to give me, leave those in the comments down below. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the videos, and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss when I post on Wednesdays and Sundays. Thanks again for watching Morgs Menu, and hope you have a great day. Bye guys.